Hello everyone. So, here we are going to discuss about intrauterine drug delivery system again, part 4th. So, we will be continuing with the same Iods, but medicated and progesterone releasing hormones Iods. So, without wasting much time, we will move to the next slide. So, in earlier sessions we have discussed about variety types of Iods, basic general discussions, and in the last session we have discussed about copper bearing Iods and compare all the different designs among each other and their advancement. Here we are going to discuss details about hormone releasing Iods, that is progesterone releasing Iods, are different medicated Iods. So, first we will have a look on the history part of these type of Iods. Doyle and AKtU initiated concept of hormone Iods. So, the hormone based Iods concept was initiated by Doyle and AKtU, and Progesterone et al. Showed progestin control release from silicone capsule inserted in rabbit uterine cavity prevent implantation. That we claim that the progestin or progesterone releasing Iods prevents conception. So, Progesterone et al. Showed, observed, studied and observed that this progestin control release from silicone capsule in terms of Iods, they have seen that from a silicone capsule they administered this progesterone into the rabbit uterine cavity and found that it prevents implantation. That supports the theory of this contraceptive activity of progesterone or hormones. In 1970s, Skomegan and co-workers affixed progesterone containing silicone capsules to modified lipase loops, US patent granted. So, in 1970s these persons affixed progesterone, that means incorporated progesterone containing silicone capsule to modified lipase loops, the type of Iod which was shown in lecture 2, right, part 2, right. So, lipase loops is a type of Iods, early conventional Iods. So, in 1917 these co-workers and person, they incorporated progesterone from silicone capsule to the Iods version of lipase loops. So, this model was patent granted, this model was patented by the US government. Early models had high expulsion rates or side effect. As we have discussed earlier, the conventional designs of these Iods have higher expulsion rate due to their larger size. So, women does not retain their retain these Iods with higher size in their uterus, and they can be expelled in between the duration of usage. Early models have high expulsion rates on side and other side effects. Later, T-shaped hormone releasing Iods were developed and improved in efficiency observed. So, T-shaped conforms to the uterine cavity very well, and it is found that it is the appropriate shape a woman can carry for the prolonged use, and it is available in copper type bearing Iods as well as in hormone releasing Iods. It releases rate of 65 mg per day found to produce contraception and selected as final design of Iods. So, during investigation various researchers, so it's 65 mg microgram per day release of these hormone or progesterone found to be produce maximum contraception in women's, and this T-shape design was selected for making further Iods. Now, hormone releasing Iods. So, Hormone based IUDs contain small amount of levonorgestrel, which is a progesterone much like the hormone progesterone ovaries produce. So, it has anti-fertility action. So, it is the hormone based IUDs contain small amount of levonorgestrel, right. So, levonorgestrel release cause thinning of uterus lining and also thickens the cervical mucus, which makes it difficult for sperm to fertilize an egg. That means it interferes with the hormonal level and prevents the conception or fertilization of an egg, right. Moreover, it prevents ovulation in some women, as high level of progesterone suppresses ovulation. So, once it is inserted in the uterus, once start releasing progesterone, IUDs releasing progesterone, it may interfere with the ovulation process of menstrual cycle and ovulation phase, and which is also responsible for its anti-fertility action. Available hormone based IUDs such as Mirena for 5 years, Kylena for 5 years, Iods for 3 years, and the amount of hormone released daily varies on the type. So, the ideal amount in the research found to be 65 microgram per day, and these are the commercially available hormone releasing IUDs, and the duration of use is different for all the types. Now, we will talk about anti-fertility action of progesterone. So, optimum amount of estrogen and progesterone required for proper development. We have discussed this thing in the part 1 of where we have discussed the anatomy of uterus and menstruation cycle. So, in that we have discussed that proper amount of estrogen and progesterone required for proper development of the proper development for fertilization, right. So, decidual reaction involves enlargement of stromal cells and grow as polyhedral cells rich in glycogen and lipids. So, this is the reaction which occurs during this different phases of menstruation cycle. In this, decidual reaction involves enlargement of stromal cells, the endometrium layer, the cells present in endometrium wall, and grow as polyhedral cells rich in glycogen and lipids. These are basic phase change during the menstruation phases. These changes take place in presence of implanted blastocytes on secretory endometrium, right. Endometrium hypermaturation is unfavorable for implantation and is associated with decidual formation, which is induced by progesterone. So, progesterone has an impact on these physiological changes during menstruation different phases, and may have inhibitory effect on these type of reaction, decidual reaction, and prevent fertilization. Once decidual reaction occurred, implantation of blastocyte cannot take place again, right. So, once decidual reaction occur, implantation of blastocytes cannot take place again. So, this is how progesterone interfere with this reaction and makes the following changes to prevent fertilization further. Now, if you see the efficacy of progesterone or hormone releasing IUDs, it depends on the daily dose of progesterone release. You see this graph, it is the pregnancy of women per year and release rate. As this type of chart we have discussed for copper bearing IUDs and compare the T type and 7 type as well. So, again we are going to discuss for it progesterone releasing. Here it is the microgram per day release rate and the pregnancy percentage per year. You see the progesterone use for 15 to, if the time extends, you see the percentage of pregnancy will get reduced as per the data shown here. So, the percentage of pregnancy reduced with the prolonged use of these type of hormone releasing IUDs. Now, what are the different potential development in hormones Iods? See, so here if we talk about the controlled, so every IOD we have discussed earlier shows the release from 1 year, 2 years up to 20 years even, right. So, controlled release delivery hormones or hormone releasing IODs as controlled delivery. What are the potential development here? So, they can be available as membrane control reservoir type, polymer matrix diffusion control type, sandwich type systems. So, in membrane control we see here two different types, single component system and multi component systems are available. If we talk about polymer matrix diffusion control, retrievable and biodegradable matrix type are available and the sandwich type is available. So, we will discuss it one by one. First is membrane controlled reservoir type. Now, let us have a look. So, membrane controlled reservoir type drug delivery system devices, or we can say IUDs, polymeric membrane encapsulate the drug within and the release the drug at control rate. The polymeric membrane encapsulate the drug or hormone and release the drug at control rate. In this type, two subtypes are available, single component and multi component. In single component system, drug in solid form encapsulated in capsule of biocompatible polymeric membrane or material, right. So, single component, only one component is there which contains a drug and the polymeric membrane is a biocompatible type. Drug release follows zero order kinetics that it shows controlled drug release. Polymers such as silicone, elastomer, polyethylene have been used. So, these are the type of biocompatible polymers which we use for multi-component system for controlled drug delivery system, right. Silicone elastomer were widely used, but lacks required tensile strength. So, it is used widely, but it has lack of flexibility and it is quite rigid. To overcome this, copolymer of dimethyl siloxane with polycarbonate or polyurethane have been used. So, to overcome this type of difficulty during, as the patient may feel discomfort during the use of these type of IODs. So, it is preferable to use the combination of biocompatible polymers to make the patient use with ease. Now, the multi-component system, here you see encapsulation of liquid medium saturated with excess of drug in rate controlling polymeric membrane. So, in this multi-component, encapsulation of liquid medium is present which is saturated with excess of drug, that is liquid compartment, rate controlling polymeric membrane. Liquid compartment of drug is encapsulated with rate controlling polymeric membrane in this type of design. Polymer membrane polymer can be used ethylene vinyl acetate copolymer and progesterone 38 mg suspended in silicone oil, right. So, this is how it is designed. Release rate of 65 microgram per day and follow zero order kinetics till drug solution become unsaturated. So, it shows the release of 65 microgram per day and the kinetics they follow is zero order kinetics, which shows the released at controlled rate and it releases till the drug solution becomes unsaturated. Effective life of 1 year, 60% of dose depletes during 1 year. So, the effectivity of this type of IODs in terms of release of progesterone to the target site is 1 year. And the example of available progesterone releasing IODs is Progestasert. It is manufactured by Elza Corporation. So, you see here the design, it is T shaped, this is polyethylene and this is ethyl vinyl acetate copolymer, and 38 mg of progesterone microcrystals in the as a liquid saturated liquid is filled in this type and suspended in silicone oil. So, this is the design of this type of system. Next is polymer matrix diffusion control DDS. So, this is the another type. The initial was membrane control and this is polymer matrix diffusion. So, homogeneously dispersing drug particle in a cross-linked polymeric matrix. So, this is homogeneous drug particles are suspended homogeneously in the cross-linked polymer matrix like this, right. This is called polymer matrix and the drug particles are homogeneously dispersed all over the polymeric matrix. So, two types are there, retrievable matrix device and biodegradable matrix device. So, here retrievable matrix device needs to be retrieved or removed after the termination of treatment, right. Drug release is linearly proportional to square root of time. So, basically these type of devices needs to be removed after the termination of therapy, and the drug release is linearly proportional to square root of time. So, this is how we calculate or we understand the drug release pattern. Biodegradable matrix, as name indicates, the polymer matrix is utilized within the system and needs not to be removed after the therapy or once the therapy gets terminated. So, retrieving at the termination of treatment not needed. Biodegradable polymer, for example, polylactic acid PLA, use that completely degrades within the body itself, right. So, these type of IUDs contains biodegradable polymers need not to be removed from the system. Drug release is combination of polymer hydrolysis and drug diffusion. So, drug release occurs with the combination of polymer hydrolysis as well as drug diffusion. The polymer hydrolysis means the removal of polymer or hydrolysis of polymers results in the drug release via drug diffusion. Now, we talk about sandwich type DDS. Sandwich type, it's a hybrid of membrane polymer and the matrix diffusion type, right. So, if we talk about the first two types, we have this membrane controlled, which has the controlled release membrane encapsulated the drug in the liquid form as well as in the solid form. Whereas, in second type we say the matrix diffusion or matrix of the polymer is present containing the drug particles suspended homogeneously, right. So, we can have a look the membrane control, the matrix type we can say the controlled is the controlling membrane is here and the particles are present here. Whereas, in the matrix type we can say that the matrix is present which is responsible to release is there. There is only a design difference. Both types may provide control release, and this is the combination of both two. Hybrid of polymer membrane permeation with polymer matrix design means they have matrix as well as membrane controlled membrane type of design. Thin rate controlling membrane encapsulated a high permeable drug dispersing matrix means the drug dispersing matrix is encapsulated in the controlling membrane here. So, this is called the hybrid design, right. Release rate can be improved by coating porous support with silicone elastomer. So, release rate can be improved by coating porous support with silicone elastomer. So, this is how the release of the progesterone controls using these using this silicone elastomer polymer. So, Nova T, Leras Pharmaceutical Finland, they have manufactured this Nova T design, which has the combination or sandwich type design in Iods, and it contains drug levonorgestrel and available in T-shaped polyethylene support by a sandwich type silicon based drug reservoir, and daily release is 20 microgram per day, we can say, and the lifetime is more than 5 years. So, these are the descriptions of this Nova T, which contains levonorgestrel, T-shaped polyethylene support by a sandwich type silicon based drug reservoir. Silicon based drug reservoir means the drug is reservoir is made up of silicon based elastomer, and the daily dose which releases is 20 microgram per day, and it can be used for more than 5 years. So, it does not imply that the women which want to have these IUDs should or must complete the duration of therapy. If any problem persists, then the therapy or the use can be terminated within the time period of any period of time, right. So, here you see the type is modified T, right, and this is polydimethylsiloxane polyethylene, this is drug reservoir, and this is the to make ease of insertion 60 mg of levonorgestrel disposed in polydimethylsiloxane. So, this is the drug reservoir in which 60 mg of levonorgestrel is kept, and 20 microgram per day release is being observed in using these type of IUDs, sandwich type. Now, in this only hormone releasing IUDs, we will be discussing about estrogen based IUDs as well. Now, till now we have discussed about progesterone releasing hormone IUDs or hormone releasing. In hormone as well, estrogen based IUDs are coming in current days, right. So, in addition, estrogen also evaluated as potential intrauterine contraceptive, right. So, apart from progesterone releasing IUDs, it is found that estrogen also has good or potential contraceptive agent and can be used in IUDs. So, estriol binds with uterine receptor and compete with estradiol. So, this is the mechanism behind the estrogen IUDs, how they exert anti-fertility action in the uterine when used as IUDs. So, estriol binds, estriol which is used in estrogen based IUDs binds with uterine receptor and compete with estradiol. Based on reports, the blastocyst development, the blastocyst development and implantation inhibited in uterus of rabbits. Some studies when investigated using these type of estrogen based device. So, for identification of its inhibitory activity on fertilization, it is shown one of the reports says that blastocyst development and implantation inhibit in uterus of rabbits. So, hence it supports the theory of its contraceptive activity. Release rate of 1.25 microgram per day effectively inhibits development and implantation of blastocysts, right. So, release of progesterone 65 microgram per day, and in the other designs 20 microgram per day is sufficient to prevent the fertilization for more than 5 years or more than 3 years, but here release rate of 1.2 microgram per day dose of estriol or estrogen effectively inhibits the development of implantation of blastocyte, that may results in its anti-fertility action. So, here are the references, and now we will have a look on the highlights which we have discussed in this session. So, here we have discussed about the history of hormone based IUDs, how it is initiated, how the concept was developed, by whom it was developed, and in 1970 it is the first lips loop design was granted as patent by the US government, and the T-shaped hormone based device as well as the copper bearing device found most suitable design for used as IUDs, right. And these are the description of hormone releasing IUDs, in which we have discussed the progesterone design as well as the estrogen design, right. So, in progesterone releasing IUDs, the drug used is levonorgestrel, which is basically progestin, much like the hormone progesterone ovaries produce. So, we use it hormonal concept as it is a natural process in the women during the menstruation phases, different type of phases. The hormones responsible for its fertility and anti-fertility action, the same contents were the same concept was taken to produce these type of IUDs to exhibits its anti-fertility action naturally. So, here levonorgestrel releases cause thinning of uterus lining and also thickens the cervical mucus. So, this is how it prevents fertilization. Now, anti-fertility action is like optimum amount of estrogen and progesterone required, so for proper development. So, variation in these physiological factors which occurs during menstruation phase may hinder the fertilization process, hence it acts as anti-fertility property, right, may result in anti-fertility action. This is the efficacy chart of progesterone IUDs, which shows that with the time the percentage of pregnancy in women per year is getting reduced over the period of time. This is release rate. If the rate of progesterone increases, the rate of percentage of pregnancy get reduced. You see, at 120 microgram per day, the pregnancy is near about 0%. Potential development are like controlled drug delivery hormones, UIDs are of various type, membrane control reservoir type, polymer matrix diffusion control, sandwich type system, and in membrane control reservoir may single component and multi component are available, and in polymer matrix retrievable and biodegradable are available. In sandwich type, it is a hybrid type of membrane control and reservoir type, membrane control and polymer matrix diffusion control type. In retrievable and biodegradable is retrievable means the device needs to be retrieved or recovered after the therapy terminates, and biodegradable, it needs not to be removed after the termination of therapy as it is utilized or within the body, right. And in single component and multi component, it is a design in membrane control reservoir type in which drug is kept. In sandwich type, it is Nova T design is available by Elza Corporation, which is being based on this type of sandwich type design, membrane control and polymer matrix diffusion control type. So, we have discussed variety designs here, and now polymer matrix type. Next, sandwich type, you see here Nova T, Leras Pharmaceuticals Finland, sorry, not Elza Corporation, it is Leras Pharmaceutical Finland who developed this type of design, sandwich based design. So, and last we have discussed about the estrogen based IUDs. All apart from progesterone, estrogen based IUDs is also available, which can prevent the fertilization when inserted as IUD within the uterus of women. So, here are the references we have taken the data from. So, I hope you understand all the basic concepts of IUDs. We have discussed introduction part, we have discussed its contraindication, advantages, disadvantages, different designs based on copper releasing IUDs and the hormone releasing IODs, in which we have discussed about progesterone and estrogen based IODs. So, with all concept I want to conclude my session here, and I hope that you all will be benefited from this information, and take care, stay safe. Thank you.